Hello, and thank you for joining us for another discussion. Today, we are going to pivot a little bit and we are going to talk about my recent 2-year anniversary of recovery from alcohol and sobriety. And I have with me here Glen San Juan, who is a hypnotherapist who helps people with things like maladaptive daydreaming and anxiety and weight loss.
Hey everybody, my name is Glen San Juan. I am with the lovely Nicole Vetter, who is a former maladaptive daydreamer and now content creator. So just want to wish you congratulations first on making it 2 years of being sober.
Thank you.
So the first thing I want to ask you, Nicole, is how do you feel today?
Really good. I feel really strong with the not drinking of the alcohol.
Mhm.
Of course, it's really difficult when you start off and there's all these emotions that you really don't want to deal with, right? For me, there was a lot of things I didn't want to deal with, and alcohol was a great coping mechanism for letting me just like, oh, I'm gonna go have fun. But additionally, I think one of the things that I didn't realize that it like really helped me deal with was like trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
And it was definitely like a coping mechanism I used for that. But I'm finally at the point where like it doesn't really have a hold on me, there's no excitement thinking about like, oh, I really want to go out and get like drunk and go out with friends. Whereas, before there was a stronger pull. And I think I've realized what are the things that kind of do grab me. And I try to stay away from those as well. I finally feel like it's not a temptation anymore. Right.
Okay.
Okay, so it's funny because I'm going to a conference at the end of like July on beginning of August,
Mhm.
and like there's gonna be an evening event where they're gonna take us to Epcot, and everybody keeps asking me if I'm gonna drink around the world, and I'm like, no,
Mhm.
no, I'm not going to. I don't drink.
Sure.
But it's really interesting because I am going to be at a social event with like my colleagues, people that I really enjoy and want to hang out with. And it's so interesting to me realizing that like that is the pull, right? Is I like we as human beings, we're social creatures. We like the way that we connect is like food and drink. And just knowing that that's my trigger and just being aware of it is the thing that's going to help me at that moment and be like, oh, like let me go get dessert or ice cream and not be pulled in by this like $7 alcohol like drink, right?
Sure.
Um, so, but additionally, it's like setting up boundaries, right? So preparing myself for success is really been kind of my savior, is just, telling my colleagues like, hey, I'm not going to drink. Please don't encourage me to drink. Don't offer me a drink. Like I'm just going to get an ice cream, with Mickey Mouse ears, and I'm going to enjoy that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And would you say your colleagues and your friends were pretty cool with that notion?
So I think that was part of why I moved as well. I was looking for a better support system because I
Sure.
think like a lot of my friends, I've been friends with them for a long time, right? And some of those people do drink, and we have had
Mhm.
history of like drinking in college or, just like as colleagues or whatever it was.
Sure.
And I think at one point I wrote out like this text, and it was like, this is my boundaries. This is how I want, to be supported, just like explaining it to people and taking ownership.
Mhm.
And there were some people that were like super supportive, and some people were like, you don't have a problem. And I'm like, you weren't there when things were really bad. Trust me, I
Sure.
got a problem.
Sure.
And then there were some people who completely ignored the message that I sent and actually encouraged me to drink.
Mm.
And coming here to North Carolina and making new friends, I've really been able to make friends who have the same values, and I never feel tempted to drink. I'm rarely in a situation where alcohol is available and there's any kind of like social temptation, really. Like
Mhm.
it's a party every once in a while where other people are drinking.
Mhm.
Or I do like to go to this like Saturday game night thing, and it is at a brewery, but they also have like non-alcoholic options, which
Sure.
actually are getting better, which is nice. But I feel like the community here is much more open to being sober. And while we do have a lot of breweries, I feel like people come here as tourists to enjoy that. And
Sure.
I'll go to events there, but I don't feel the pressure. And I'm really happy with the community that I've built, and I feel so much more supported, and I don't feel as much pressure. So yeah.
Sure. Okay. And I mean, like, I think that's great that you have that perspective now of like why you were drinking in the first place. And I mean, I know we were pivoting to from what our normal topic, but would you say that alcohol tied in with maladaptive daydreaming?
I don't think so. I mean, other than the fact that like when you're drinking alone, you're not really drinking alone because you're like, I got my Paracos. I'm not drinking alone, right?
It's already a party inside, right?
Exactly, right? I don't think so. I think in fact, most of the times if I was going out drinking and not drinking home alone, I would be I would kind of leave the paracosm behind and I'd be like, in my real life world, but also
Sure.
you're drunk, like you're not really being present.
Right.
Um, it was just another escape, right? So I think it was just another layer of trying to ignore all those emotions that would freak me out,
Mhm.
especially at nighttime. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that could probably relate to that, that they use alcohol to kind of shut down whatever's in the back of their head so they can live more,
Mhm.
I guess more unconsciously, just
Right.
how they really want to live their life
Yeah.
and using the alcohol as a crutch. But you did mention to me that you do still you partake in some alcohol once in a while, but you're more in control. Is that right?
So my rule is if I'm outside of the country, I'm allowed to drink.
Hmm.
And this is something that I'm playing around with because I think there is a lot of toxicity around drinking in this country.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it became really apparent to me, when I stopped drinking, but then you're seeing how everybody else is talking about it and how everybody else is partaking in it.
Hmm.
And you're looking at it and you're like, did I used to think that was normal? Because that's not okay. But I
Yeah.
think that in other countries, there's definitely a different level of, like a connection with alcohol and like the culture around it. So like specifically, I was in Bali, very recently. And I think there were 3 separate days where I had one drink. And I have that type of self-discipline where I could go to a brewery right now, have one beer and not drink for another 5 years. I could
Sure.
absolutely do it. And that's what I was doing for a very long time before I officially was like, no, I'm done. Right. But also like, how often am I abroad? Like, this is the first time I've been abroad in like 7 years.
Sure.
But yeah, so when I was in Bali, I was like, all right, let me play around with this theory and see if it makes sense, if I get anything from it. And I'm still kind of like trying to figure out the culture of drinking and if there's a healthy possibility, if there isn't.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, so when I was in Bali, I had, 3 drinks separate, occasions. And I don't know, like it wasn't anything special.
Okay.
I'm not upset that I did it, but I'm not like, oh, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I do like enjoy the taste of alcohol. I enjoy the taste of wine and beer.
Hmm.
But I don't know. But I think it's like when I think about, okay, if I ever go to Germany and it happens to be Oktoberfest, am I not going to have a beer? Like just one beer to like actually enjoy? Because when I was in
Sure.
London, beer tastes very different than what we have here, right?
Sure.
And I really enjoy that in London, drinking, beer that was, on draft and how different the flavor was, how intense the flavor was, especially
Hmm.
because I do enjoy the flavor of it and like the craftsmanship. So when I think about that, I'm like, if I'm ever in Germany and like I want to have a beer, it's not the end of the world because I know I can handle it. But I'm also, if I'm in Italy and I want to have a glass of wine with lunch, that's fine, you
Hmm.
know. But I don't want to be spending a lot of money on it. I don't want to be getting drunk. Because the other thing now, like my relationship with alcohol is so bad that I can have a beer, sure. Hour later, I'm already hungover. My body's like, bye. No.
Sure.
And just like the effects wear in. And I was like, I regret that. I do regret
Yeah.
that. So it's not something I'm not going to go to Italy and just drink every bottle of wine that's available. But every once in a while, I would like to enjoy like a nice glass of wine because for them, that's normal to go on your lunch during your workday and have a glass of wine during lunch. For them, that's normal. And I think that if they can do that, and as a culture, they allow each other to do that during the workday, they have a different view about it, right? And I don't really know that I fully understand it, but I'm curious to learn more about, what's going on in other countries, in regards to that. And is there, a different perspective that I can take on that might allow me to enjoy a drink every once in a while? Because I think for me here, drinking and everything I learned, during college and even before that was very like, you can only have fun if you're drinking. Well, that's not true. Like I've learned that's not true. And I think that's
Hmm.
one of the things that most people are scared of giving up alcohol for, because like, am I going to have fun? Yeah, you're going to have fun. And
Right.
I think, um, I had a really amazing experience where this was before my like official, like I'm going to be sober, but it was just one of those moments where I went out with colleagues. We went to like a club. We were celebrating someone's promotion and everybody was drinking and we stayed out late dancing, partying, and I did not drink at all.
Hmm.
And I remember having so much fun that night and just dancing, you know, and I was also doing a lot of strength training. So I felt really strong to like
Yeah.
dance all night, you know, without like that, you know, what alcohol can give to you when you're like, you're so drunk that you don't care. You're just going to keep dancing. And that was a very life-changing moment because I was like, I can have fun without drinking. I don't need it to have fun. Nobody even noticed that I'm not drinking. Nobody cares. That was important for me to see that because I think that was a big concern. But really, it just goes back to that. I was so overwhelmed with all the emotions and everything that had happened to me that that's where my mindset was. And I didn't see any other option for how to actually like enjoy and be present in my life. And because now that's such a big focus on how can I be present today? How can I enjoy even a few minutes today if it's a hard day, right? And I don't need alcohol to have fun.
Sure. It's kind of like a reevaluation of like the purpose of why you're drinking alcohol in the first
Yeah,
place, you know? Like
exactly.
if that purpose is was to have fun with alcohol, well, you know, it's all about kind of like change that perspective of like what is it really doing for you? Not
Right.
just like not just like mentally, but also like clearly your liver like knows the difference of when your body's like doing better without
Right.
alcohol, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually remember, so I broke up with my ex-boyfriend and we drank every single day. And it's like, I think before that I was drinking not in a healthy way, but I was drinking socially. Like I wouldn't just drink alone. But because I spent literally a year with him just drinking every single day, by the time I left, especially since I put so much effort into that relationship, all I knew was how to drink. I forgot all of my hobbies. I forgot my friends. I gave him everything. And then I was like, I literally, this is all I do now. I just drink. And that started me off in a really bad place, especially it's a breakup, you know, it's not easy.
Sure.
And I remember I was trying to like deal with things. You know, I was reading a book about Buddhism and I was like, I should meditate every day. And I was like, how am I going to do that? Because if I drink at night, and it was one of those things where I'm like, you're trying to rationalize it, but it doesn't make any sense. It's like, I want to drink every night because this is my thing now that I do. But I also really want to start fixing things and getting better. And I really want to meditate. And I was wanting to meditate for a long time before I finally started doing it.
Yeah.
And my brain was like wrestling with this. Like, I need this coping mechanism, but I also want to use this really good coping mechanism. And I just remember
Mhm.
having this issue in my mind and just being like, not being able to figure out how I'm going to balance it, you know, and
Sure.
the obvious answer is you quit the drinking and you use the really good, you know, and of
Hmm.
course it took me, I think, you know, 4 or 5 years after that question arose in my mind to actually, you know, like now I meditate every day, twice a day, and there's no choice. I would rather meditate than have a glass of wine. Absolutely.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
think it's an awesome, like, that's an awesome substitute, I think, as opposed
Right.
to, you know, not only that, probably saves you money as well, you know? You're not going out
Yes.
buying the expensive
Right.
liquors or even the cheap stuff, buying that, you know,
Right.
several times a week. So I
Right.
think this is like an awesome, healthy, like alternative and
Mhm.
helps you actually put you on a path forward that you where you want to actually go.
Right. Absolutely.
I think that's
Yeah.
an awesome way to look at it. And
Yeah.
so I guess one last question I wanted to ask you. I mean, given all of this, what would you say is like the biggest takeaway if you had to like sum it all up from all that you've learned now that it's been 2 years?
You do not have to wait until you hit rock bottom to make a change. You don't have to. You can pick any day and just be like, I'm done. It doesn't feel good, right? Because there was one point where I remember I woke up hungover at 3 a.m. in the morning, just feeling like crap, depressed, miserable. And I'd been doing that for a long time. And, you know, at that moment, I did use that as a starting point because I think that was when I went to the doctor. I was like, I need antidepressants. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm lost. I'm losing my mind. And I did. And it started helping. But I wish I had taken that moment even more seriously and not waited until like that next moment that would happen. Because I did. And the next moment came and it was worse than the first moment. It was definitely worse than waking up at 3 a.m. and being hungover and being miserable. You can wake up any day and be like, I am done whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm going to try something new today. and that's not going to be drinking. Yeah.
I think that's an awesome way to put it. I mean, like that you don't have to hit rock bottom, because for some people out there, regardless of what that addiction is, whether it's alcohol,
Right.
maladaptive daydreaming, or some other substance, I mean, at some point, I'm sure you know that you have those like feelings like maybe you should make a change, instead of when you wake up in the hospital when like your liver shot, or you find yourself like on the street or something like that. I mean, why not
Yeah.
take the chance and try to make that change sooner rather than later?
Yeah.
Like, what do you have
And
to lose?
the truth is that I knew I had a problem. I was like
Mhm,
talking to my friend and being like, hey, do you want to go to AA with me? And I was saying this, like I knew there was a problem, but I was ignoring it.
mhm.
And that was a choice I made. I chose to ignore it instead of saying like, hey, actually, like, will you go? Like, there's a thing tomorrow night. Can you come with me? And I just kept avoiding it. Yeah, totally.
Sure. And
Uh,
that's why you have people like us online talking about not just maladaptive daydreaming, but things
right.
that the everyday person would have to deal with. That's what we're here for each other and for our viewers.
And I think the good thing is there's a lot of different levels of support now if you like are struggling with alcohol, because I think when I first was like when I really hit bottom and I started going to AA didn't work for me. I don't have that kind of mindset. I'm not religious. Like I'm a Buddhist. Um, but there's a lot of different things that you can utilize to get to where you want to be, and you just have to stick to it. And definitely find support, because whoever you surround yourself with is definitely going to be where your life is going. Because, if the people that you're surrounding yourself with are drinking, they're not going to encourage you to stop drinking. They want you to start drinking, right? Like that friend that after I set that boundary and asked for support, that friend encouraged me to drink because that person wanted to drink and they knew
Hmm.
that I had drank before and they didn't think I had a problem, which doesn't mean I don't have a problem, so they encouraged me to drink. And then they later said, like, I did it because I wanted to drink, even though I had asked for support. It doesn't matter, right? I set the
Hmm.
boundary. They just ignored it. So, and I think that's hard is, realizing that I might have to stop talking to this friend to get to the next point of my life, but you have to want that more for yourself than to have that friendship, because that friendship isn't serving you. That person's not your friend, you
Hmm.
know? And I think now I don't do things for today. I do things for Nicole tomorrow. Like, is Nicole tomorrow have like healthy food that she can eat tomorrow? Does she have a plan for how she's going to live her day that's going to feel good and move her body and make sure she's drinking enough water and all these basic things? And does she have the tools that if she feels like she wants a drink, she can go meditate or whatever? But I will say, like, I don't ever go like, yeah, I want to drink. No, like that's the place where I'm at. And I'm really grateful for that. And it's difficult, but it's so worth it.
It's worth it in the end when you actually have control of yourself.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Awesome.
Like, I actually wouldn't call it control, right? Because I don't want to control myself. I don't want to control anybody else. I just want to know what my values are and to make sure that I'm living those values. And if I'm living those values, like, I don't have a problem, because I know what I need to do and I know what I'm going to do and what isn't working. And I'm not going to let myself go down that like rabbit hole.
Sure. Just living the way that you want to live.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
totally.
Well, once again, congratulations, Nicole,
Thank
for
you.
making it to 2 years. I think that's it from me for questions.
Awesome. Yeah. So we are still going to have conversations and discussions about maladaptive daydreaming. If there's anything specific that you do want us to discuss, please drop a comment down below, because we will really love to bring you the content that you're looking for.
Hmm.
And finally, my name is Nicole Vetter, and you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and actually I just started a Facebook page, and I will be launching my sleep habits class. So if you're drinking every night because it's the best way to fall asleep, I can give you some tools that can make it a lot easier.
Should absolutely check that out. And again, I'm Glen San Juan. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks, everybody.